This quick aerial tour is to show you one of the pastures where we raise pure island beef cattle here on Manitoulin Island in Canada. This video was taken in August, and it shows you a bunch of things that I'll point out as we fly higher and look further out over the fields. Near the bottom of the screen, you can see a kind of a line in the pasture. That's some electric fence tape that divides one section of the pasture from the other. We divide this pasture up into chunks, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 acres in size, and we rotate the cattle through these chunks so they eat intensively in one place for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then we move them to another place. And that allows most of the pasture to be in regeneration mode, where it's growing back as quickly and vibrantly as possible. There are other areas, this third field that we're looking at now in the distance, that's divided up into 5 different sections. And the field in the foreground, we call that the second field, is divided up into 3 sections. One of the things about Manitoulin is that it is a really interesting blend of farmland and forest, and you can get a sense of that here. This land was cleared beginning in 1890, and it's been under continuous cultivation since then, mostly raising beef cattle. And the shape of the field was determined by the good available land. The pioneers tested this, and they didn't bother clearing land that wasn't going to be useful. So the irregular shape you see here follows the deep soil that was worth bringing into production. Off in the distance there, you can see Lake Huron. We're about a couple of kilometers from the south shore of Manitoulin, and that's where Lake Huron is. It's about 250 kilometers or so of open water right to the bottom of Lake Huron, where you'd eventually come to the very southern tip of Ontario. So we're next to some big water here. This has a nice effect on the climate. Makes us a little cooler and a little wetter and just perfect for growing pasture. The body of water you see off in the distance is called Taylor Bay, and that's named after the pioneers who, as I said, got the property from the Crown in 1890. They had 5 years to bring 5 acres under cultivation and make some kind of a house, and then they got full title to the property. So that's how a lot of land here in Ontario was originally settled. The triangular lines that you see here in the third field mark some more of those divisions of the field that I was talking to you about. They're pie-shaped in this case because that lets us water the cattle all from a central point. They all come to the same point of the pie slice, so to speak, in order to get the water that they need. In fact, if you look towards the bottom right of the screen, you can see the group of cattle there just finishing up a drink. There's about 50-something head in this pasture this year. Moving back north now, you can see an adjacent field on the property next door, and it has an interesting lesson to teach. It takes a fair amount of effort to stop the forest from reclaiming these fields. This is a forested part of the world, and in order to have the kind of grasslands we need for grazing, young trees and seedlings need to be trimmed out and taken away regularly. And if that doesn't happen, then in 40 or 50 or 60 years, the fields are just gone. So that's kind of a big part of what we do. One of the big things we do here as we maintain the pastures.